Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. Once again, we are going back into the world of Control and Legacy. Lately I've been playing quite a bit of Control on the channel with the starting point of Force of Phil's decks. He is one of the people behind the Eternal Daedals podcast and channel. So I've been playing their Miracles list, which kind of utilises this Counterbalance, Thwart, Mystic Sanctuary combo. So we're trying to do some more of that. I've played some of Phil's lists. I played my own Bant list that was pretty good, and now we're going to play this one. I'm sort of trying to condense all the learning that I've had from playing those decks, and we're trying out some other things to see what I think might be viable. So we are a control deck. Winning the game is a thing that we get round to at some point. We have one Entreat the Angels, which we can use. We can obviously rebuy this with the Mystic Sanctuaries later on. We have two Secure the Wastes. I like to Secure the Wastes because it gives us pressure against Planeswalkers, which is something our deck doesn't particularly like fighting against, that I discovered. It can chump block, it can be removal, it can do a lot of things, right? This can answer a Bowmasters that attacks. It can do a decent chunk of things, and we split it between 2 and 1 so that we have different names, so it's harder to get surgically extracted out of the game entirely. We have a counterbalance thing that we're trying to set up using Brainstorm, Ponder, and Brainsurge, as well as Mystic Sanctuary, which we can then fetch for, put something on top, and then trigger our counterbalance that way. Part of the theory that Phil's been working on lately is playing a controller that's really low to the ground. So we have 4 Lórien Revealed in there, but then just a whole bunch of cantrips and things to try and get us there. So we are running a light land deck, but we're supposed to be able to interact without necessarily needing much mana, which is why we have a lot of cheap interaction in our deck. So we have a lot of removal here, and we have a lot of counters. So our counters, Force of Will, Force of Negation, sometimes you just need to get out of the early game against these decks. We want to go long, and Force of Negation helps us do that. There'll be matchups where this is bad, then it can come out. We have a couple of Counterbalance, which, like I mentioned, is one of our core engines in this deck. We have a good old-fashioned Counterspell, and then we have Thwart. Thwart is really interesting in this deck because this allows us to counter a spell, return these Mystic Sanctuaries to our hand, and then we can play the Mystic Sanctuary, put the Thwart back on top, and just set up this soft lock, which has proven pretty decent so far. Removal-wise, we've got one of Terminus. We have one Unexpectedly Absent. This is one I haven't seen for ages. So this puts target non-land permanent into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards of that library. So for just 2 mana, instant speed, you can put something on top of someone's library in response to them cracking a fetch land, for example. This is an answer to a Planeswalker, which is something that we struggle against, which is why I've added it in here. We have 2 Prismatic Endings. We're not going as heavy into them, and we're trying to have some slightly different answers. These different answers maybe cost a little bit more, so like Exorcise. This is exile target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. So this can actually answer the 1 ring, which is a big deal. Council's Judgment, again, this can answer the 1 ring. Starting with you, each player votes for non-land permanent you don't control. So basically we choose a permanent that is non-land and it goes. And this is quite useful. We can obviously rebuy these things. 4 source Plowshares, just the best removal spell going. And 1 path to exile, because we want to have a little bit more in terms of instant speed answers to Bowmasters, because we are trying to draw cards. And this can sometimes be necessary to make sure that we're not getting Bowmastered out. Here is the cool bit that I'm looking forward to playing today. Accumulated Knowledge. Now, for all you old Magic boomers out there, this card used to be the bomb, and we're trying it out again. So in this slot that to be our card advantage thing, in Phil's list, he normally has Predict. Now, Predict is obviously very good if you know the top card of your library, but if you don't, it is just a cantrip. And what we're trying to do here is have this Accumulated Knowledge. So the first one isn't great, it's just a cantrip. So quite often the first Predict is going to be better than the first Accumulated Knowledge. But we're trying to play a long game here. And then if we can just get in a situation where we're playing Accumulated Knowledge and then we're putting it back on top of our library with this Mystic Sanctuary, then all of a sudden, you know, we've just got access to like draw 3s, sometimes even draw 4s on tap. And that can just give us all the resources to win the game. So I'm excited to try this one out. It's an oldie, but a classic. And I think, given the nature of our deck, this should be pretty good because we're not trying to exile any cards. We're not playing Uros or anything like that or any delve costs at all. So this is always just going to be in our graveyard, so we get to use it. So I'm quite looking forward to Accumulated Knowledging. It's been a hot minute since I've played this card. And obviously we have the Brainsurge I mentioned before. In some of the flex slots, I've added 2 Soulguide Lanterns. Graveyard decks are everywhere right now. This, at worst, cantrips. So, you know, it's going to do some stuff for us. But it's just a really important thing to have in the meta right now. In the Bant version, we got to play 4 Endurance, which also let us recycle our deck. So what you may see here is we don't have a way that lets us go infinite to recycle our deck. But I don't think we need to go infinite. We just need to go long enough, right? So I know Phil's build has got a thing that shuffles in stuff from the graveyard into the deck and lets him basically set up like this infinite loop where he can just keep playing the game and then eventually win the game that way. We're not trying to do that. I think just drawing enough of our, like, we have 3 threats, that's plenty. We should be able to draw one at the right time, maybe rebuy it. We can rebuy a few things to stop ourselves decking perhaps, and that should be it. In terms of the mana base, I noticed that the 4th Mystic Sanctuary seemed a bit much sometimes, so I've put 1 Meticulous Archive, which I find is usually going to be better than the 4th Mystic Sanctuary. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is worth playing. I only had 3 Sanctuaries in my bank build, and that felt okay. So we've got that, and like I mentioned, we've got the Lórien Revealed. We have 1 Underground Sea that we can use for the Prismatic Endings, and that's about it, and maybe tricking our opponent, making them play around stuff that we don't have. And then we're just very heavy into islands with 4 Tundras and 3 basic islands because we want to be able to access our Mystic Sanctuary's ability, and we have a 1-off planes because, you know, we're going to need that sometimes. Sideboard-wise, we've got some Null Rods. The Mono Blue Painter deck is putting up some serious numbers right now. I want to have a hard and fast, just no answer to what they're doing. We have 4 Wastelands in the sideboard. These are pretty tasty. Like, you may say, oh, why are they in the main deck? But we don't want them all the time. There are certain matchups where we want these, and we don't want them to be part of our mana base. We want this to be a spell that we have access to, effectively. We have 3 Meddling Mage. Now, this is one you probably haven't seen for a little while. But do you know what's really, really bad being a control deck right now? Is when your opponent just has, like, 1 card that you can't deal with. Let's say Sowing Mycospawn, for example, that's just going to put us in the Stone Age. You can play Meddling Mage. They won't get a cast trigger because they're not allowed to cast that spell. And this is also good against controlling Planeswalker decks where they board out a lot of their removal, or even all of their removal, and then we can just stick a Meddling Mage, naming the Planeswalker that we're actually most scared of. And then we have a creature that can pressure the Planeswalker. They probably won't have removal for it, and they can't cast that card. So I think this is actually going to be an interesting experiment today. We have a 1-off Surgical Extraction, which is recursive Graveyard Hate because we have the Sanctuaries. We have 1-off Get Lost, destroy target creature, enchantment, or Planeswalker. So the Planeswalker thing is the reason we're running this. Just more hate for Planeswalker decks, but sometimes we might just want a little bit more removal, and that's fine too. 3 Consigned Memories for a lot of these colourless decks, and 1 Hydroblast for the red decks. And that is the list we're playing today. I'm curious to see how it pans out. I've really been enjoying doing these little control videos, and a lot of you have been saying some nice things in the comments, so hopefully we can have another good one today. But strap in, it's probably going to be a slow, grindy one. So remember to like and subscribe, and let's get stuck in. We are on the play. I don't think we can keep a hand that just has this Mystic Sanctuary. I'm going to mulligan this. Okay, this seems fine. We're going to keep this, and we're going to bin off one of these Force of Negations. And we're going to lead off with this Flooded Strand so we can get the Meticulous Archive if we wish. So we've got Force of Negation into Brainsurge. I think it's worth keeping the Accumulated Knowledge around because it's obviously better in multiples. Whereas if we exile this to the Force of Negation, not only are we losing a card draw as a cantrip, but we're losing additional card draws on every other copy of this we draw. So I think this ends up being a higher rate for us. A Flooded Strand. Okay. Let's go and get our Meticulous Archive. Already happy about this inclusion in the deck. A Lórien Revealed. Is that where I want to be right now? It's a cantrip. It's not necessarily where I want to be. We can just put that in the graveyard for now. I don't really want to cast this Brainstorm just yet. We're just going to hold up with this Accumulated Knowledge. See what our opponent's up to. We can Brainstorm to hide cards. We might need to plow this turn. Our opponent's just also fetching their own Meticulous Archive. Good cards are good, as it turns out. Apologies if you can hear a bird singing. There was a bird just outside my window, even though my window is closed, and it's making some lovely noises. And I don't know if the mic's picking them up, but it's probably not what you came here to listen to. All right, let's cast this Accumulated Knowledge at end step. All right. We've got a Mystic Sanctuary. We're getting somewhere. So we're seeing a Windswept Heath and a Flooded Strand. I'm not expecting our opponent to have Orcish Bowmasters here. We do have a plow if they do have it. So I'm just going to fire off a Brainstorm. Secure the Waste, Counterbalance, a couple of Mystic Sanctuaries. I don't really want 2 Mystic Sanctuaries, so put one of these back. I don't think we're in the market for winning the game yet. I think we put this back on top, and then we're going to cast a Ponder. And I'm going to try and shuffle. This Entreat the Angels isn't doing anything, so any order. Shuffle. Okay, so we found an island here. We'll play this because then our Mystic Sanctuary is just live. And we can start recurring cantrips if we want to. And if we can find ourselves another Accumulated Knowledge, then we're really in the source then. Yep, so here is the Hedge Maze. So our opponent could be some kind of like Nardu deck, like the Nardu mid-range deck, would certainly have these play patterns. This is a pretty Nardu-y based card, because this can go and find Shuko sometimes. There is the Nardu. We don't have an answer to this in hand, but we can we can plow it. Unexpectedly absent. So we're in a bit of a weird situation here. I think I cast the Counterbalance. And see if this resolves, then we can put something on top if we want it. Do I think this deck is playing a Daze with this double Hedge Maze plan? Uncertain. Alright, so there is a Force of Will pitching a Daze. So I will play around Daze. Gets Mystic Sanctuary on the go. What would I like back here, though? It's probably just a Ponder. And as much as I hate this, I think we're right to do this now. I'm just trying to work out if we do this now or if we do it in our opponent's upkeep. If we do it in our opponent's upkeep, we have the Force of Negation, but they have mana. I think it's probably killing it in their turn is the correct thing to do here. Do I do it right now? Do I wait? Our opponent's probably going to put something on the stack. If not, we can maybe afford to take 3 damage. I don't really want to use my Brainsurge. Okay, so here are the nomads. So I will cast this Swords to Plowshares. They showed us a Prismatic Ending. Not great against our deck, so that's something. Alright, so they've got our nomads in. They've just got another Nadu. A Cephalid Illusionist. Okay, so they probably don't have access to a Cabal Therapy line, so we can make them go through the motions and then force them to do a Memories Journey line, because we can just fire off this force. So this is just a breakfast deck. They just happen to fetch their 2 Surveil lands early doors. So they're going to mill through until they bring back some Narcomoebas, then they're going to sacrifice their guys to reanimate this Thassa's Oracle that's going to be somewhere in here, and then we're going to try and Force of Negation that, and then see what we can accomplish afterwards. I'm not seeing anything unusual here. Stock Up is, I guess that's kind of unusual. Like, it's a very good card to dig, but 3 mana in a non-Ancient Tomb deck is a lot. They've already got another 3-drop in Nadu, so they're definitely making themselves much worse versus tempo by running that card. I don't actually like Force of Negation very much in this matchup. Oh, I've not seen this Dread return up before. Okay, so no Cabal Therapy, which isn't a surprise. They've kind of just got rid of that. They don't have that line. They just use the Memories Journey instead. Dread return targeting Thassa's Oracle. We will try to interact with this using our Force of Negation. We can go a lot more removal heavy. Well, not a lot more removal heavy, but we can index towards more removal with our Get Lost, and then just keeping hands that are more removal based rather than counterspell based. So we can try and trade 1 for 1 for their pieces. But it's a very hard thing to do into the face of Nadu as well as this as a Saga. Exorcise, I didn't mention it in the deck tech, but Exorcise is an answer to the Saga as well. They're doing Memories Journey, getting back the Thassa's Oracle into their deck. Okay. How do we solve the problem we find ourselves in? I guess we start with a Ponder. A Prismatic Ending, a Swords to Plowshares. They won't have any cards in their library, so none of this will work. This is in any order in shuffle. A Lórien Revealed, that can get us the ability to Unexpectedly Absent, which buys us another turn. So we're going to get a Tundra here. I don't think there's any spells in our graveyard that are going to help us. We just need the white mana to survive another turn. Okay, so they can cast the Thassa's Oracle, and then we can put it on top of their library so that we're not dead immediately. And then we can maybe draw into Force of Will. So this comes in, they put the trigger on the stack. I will make this absent. So this doesn't do anything, but we are dead next turn unless we find a Force of Will or a Counterspell. That works too. We've given ourselves the ability to maybe have this. Okay, so now we have the Force. Are we going to win this one? I could count their thing, but it either comes down to our spell works or it doesn't, right? We play to our outs. Our opponent could have a Daze here, and we could lose. I haven't checked their graveyard. Oh, we got the win there. Beautiful. All right. Very happy with how that panned out. Whew. So, I would like a Get Lost here. That seems useful. Wasteland is pretty good against our opponent's deck. They've got all these 3-drops jamming them up, and they've also got an Urza's Saga, so I think I want the Wastelands in. Consign to Memory can hit certain triggers, so Urza's Saga trigger is a useful one to hit, as well as the Oracle itself. The Graveyard Hate in Surge Extraction, also pretty decent. We could bring in Meddling Mage. That is another option we have available to us. Exorcise. This kills the Urza's Saga, if that's the thing we're interested in doing. I think the Council's Judgment is interesting here because it kills Nadu without giving them a trigger. So I think we just want maximum removal in. Our opponent is not going to mess with our mana base here. How much do I want for Force of Wills? Is our plan just to keep removing their stuff? I think it is. Even though we did win because of a force at the end there. I think we just want to fight them like this. Trading 1 for 1 and then gassing up. I hate the Force of Negations, actually. They can come out. Which means we have options for a Miser's Force of Will, Consign to Memory, or Surgical Extraction. I guess the Surgical Extraction is kind of interesting. We can just say no to a bunch of annoying things. Do I want 1 Force of Will, though? It's just nice to know it's in there. I don't think we want Surgical. We're just going to keep the Solar Lanterns in. They at least cycle if they're not being used for that. Alright. This is what we're going for. What does this hand do? We don't cast the Council's Judgment anytime soon. We'll be relying a lot on this Brainstorm. I think we can do better here. Is that better? I don't think this is better. It does have a lot of removal, though. But if our opponent kills us on turn 2, we're just stone cold dead to that. I think we're going to keep it still. And I think it's a Judgment that goes back here. We don't have the second white. We already have 2 removal spells. Pathing their guy obviously comes with a risk. Okay, so it's not Nomads on 1. I guess it could be Shuko, though. It's just a Ponder. Okay, so we're not dead on turn 2. They didn't show us Lotus Petal, I don't believe. So I think we are going to get to see a few more turns of this game. Play the Meticulous Archive. Would like to find an untapped mana source. Ooh, hello, untapped mana source. Carpet of Flowers. Sure, we can just Prismatic Ending this away if we want to. I didn't make a land drop here, which is certainly something I'm looking to jump on. Let's just Prismatic Ending this. Do you want to fight over this or not? Considering they don't have any mana, do I want to Brainstorm in response to this and maybe find an answer? The problem is this Carpet of Flowers can be our death here. Do I want to Brainstorm? If we Brainstorm and don't find a counter, which we only have like 1 force, I think we just let this go. So we've got the path which can deal with their little guy. Otherwise we can do some Brainstorm for efficiency. I don't really like brainstorming in this situation, but I think it's fine. We can brainstorm and then set up a counterbalance for them. Okay, choosing not to do anything here. I'd like to find another land drop, and I'd like to make this counterbalance. We did find a land drop after a fashion. What would I like to leave on top? The double accumulated knowledge is incredibly tasty to me. I think we'll leave the exercise on top. And then we're just going to draw this. And then I think I'm just going to island cycle this for another Tundra. And then we're just going to be doing accumulated knowledge things. I think we're holding up Path to Exile. We're giving them more mana because of the carpet. They didn't do anything with 3 mana last turn. So I'm curious to see if they do anything with 4 mana. But if we can just accumulate into accumulated knowledge. If they made 3 black and they let it go, that's just so they can be more efficient with their clock, I guess. AK. Flooded Strand. I would like to play out this Flooded Strand. I would like to play out a Counterbalance as well, please. Our opponent's spending 2 cards on that. That's fine. That's how we want to play this game. We're just trading 1 for 1. Or we're actually trading 1 for 2 against them. And then we're just gassing up. So now they're just using Veil of Summer as a redraw. That's fine. We have 2 removal spells if they try and combo this turn. Otherwise, we're just going to accumulate knowledge. We can get back a Brainstorm if we wish. Another Carpet of Flowers. Okay. I guess mana is not going to be the chokehold. A Shuko. Sure. And then a pass. Would I like a Brainstorm back here? That is the question, isn't it? I could get the Lórien Revealed back. I don't hate that. Let's have the Lórien Revealed on top. Just draw a bunch of cards. 2 more Lórien Revealeds. Another accumulated knowledge. We are accumulating so much knowledge right now. I'm going to fire off an AK. And then I'm going to put this on top. Get back this accumulated knowledge. This is exactly the sort of thing we were talking about at the start in terms of what I want this game, what I want the games of this deck to do. We have 2 pieces of removal. We've got a draw 3 on top of our library. Having a good time. Because they Force of Negation our Prismatic Ending, we can't just keep rebuying that, which is annoying. So we could just Wasteland them and then continue what we're up to. Okay, what I want to do here. White at Lórien Revealed, we can just spend 2 mana to draw 3 cards. I guess I will just Wasteland our opponent here. It doesn't take them off much mana, but it does stop 3 dazes being a thing. I guess I'll get rid of some cards here. So we're not putting our opponent under pressure, so they don't need to do anything. Alright, they got 5 green mana and 5 blue mana, so we could be seeing a Nadu this turn. That is a Nadu. Okay. We're not going to be able to stop them having 2 activations here, so we may as well just let them have the 2 activations and then see what happens after that. A Windswept Heath, okay. They've got some more mana in the tank over there. I think we fire off a Plow here. So the reason for doing it then is if our opponent's doing a Brainstorm, they don't get the shuffle. Although I suppose they could just Brainstorm using this mana as well, actually. So maybe that is irrelevant. And we're supposed to wait to see if they try and kill us. But we have another removal spell here. Right, I've got nothing else going on. Interesting. They put 1 card on top with the Meticulous Archive. We could just draw a whole bunch of cards here. How many Tundras do you have? 1, 2, 3. So if we draw another Tundra, the fetch hand, I guess we can just go get basics though. We've certainly drawn a lot of cards this game. Ponder. We have to hold open this path, so I guess we're just passing here. We can bin off. Probably a Flooded Strand is fine. We've got a shuffle effect in Lórien Revealed anyway. These carpets are generating a lot of value. Kind of surprised how little removal we've drawn, really. 5 blue mana, 5 green mana. They're not far away from Emrakul. They don't have Emrakul in their deck, but they're not far away from it. A Nomad's Encore, sure. A Nadu. I would like to hit the Nadu more than the Nomad, so we're going to wait for this to resolve. And then we fire in the path here. A Force of Will has entered our opponent's hand. Not ideal for us. Yep, and now they have a blue card, so now they're just going to draw a whole bunch of things. Alright, we're F6 through this turn and see how much damage they can do to us. I suspect the Narcomoeba goes rather than the Brainstorm. Yep, the Narcomoeba goes, sure. So now they just get to do this, which is an awkward thing about being a control player is that there are some draw engines like the One Ring and Nadu that just do so much better on that front than what we do. So we cast so many draw spells this game, and our opponent's going to have seen just as many cards as us by the end of this turn. So they have a Cephalid Illusionist. They boarded in Veil of Summers though, so we're right to ease back on the counter magic. Right, so now we have a Cephalid Illusionist. We can scoop that up. Okay, do I want to do anything differently? We drew a lot of cards. Maybe we can ease on back on the lands. Maybe we'll take out an island, because we are boarding in more lands here. So we'll take out a couple of basics and use our Wasteland plus the Lórien Revealed to get us where we need to be, which allows us to have a couple of Force of Wills back in, which I'm down to have, I think. Alright, let's try this. We could use Consign to Memory to stop a Carpet Flowers trigger, maybe, but that doesn't seem very good. Meticulous Archive, and then what? 2 draw steps, but we have lots of removal, which is how we want to play this game. I think this is okay. We know that our opponent isn't playing Wastelands or anything, so I'll take this half a Ponder. I do like having the Plows here. If our plan is just to kill all of their stuff, it is annoying to miss a land drop though. So I guess we'll put it on the bottom. That's probably how we lose this game, is if we just never hit another land. Right, they're not going for a turn 2 kill. Let's cast this Ponder. A Mystic Sanctuary. We can play that right now. Lórien Revealed is the land after that. That seems okay. I don't really like having the Enter the Battlefield tap land here, but it is the nature of our deck. We have 4 ETB tap lands. So our opponent's going to get a Meticulous Archive or Hedge Maze here. Most likely the Archive, there it is. Our deck is base blue-white, they're just splashing for Nadu and a few sideboard cards, really. A Brainstorm. Alright, so Misty Rainforest. So now we draw the Lórien Revealed. We probably want to go get a land here. So we're just going to say goodbye to Prismatic Ending on top of our library, go and fetch up. We could go get the Underground Sea, so we have access to the Prismatic Ending for 3, so we have another answer to Nadu. What does that take away from us? That takes away the ability to Council's Judgment or Entreat the Angels or Unexpectedly Absent. Are those cards more important than having a Prismatic Ending for 3 right now? We also might want to double removal in one turn, so I think I am going to get the Tundra right now and just hold. Just play the Tundra and then pass with Counterspell up. So this is probably going to go fetch the Hedge Maze. This is looking a lot like game 1 already. But hopefully the Counterspell gets us through this turn, and then maybe we can pick off some stuff with removal spells in a minute. As a Saga, pretty solid. What about good old-fashioned Counterspell? Force of Will. How much do I want this Nadu to not be in play? Like, we have an answer to it. I think we're just going to allow it. They're going to get one card off of it. Oh, and we drew the Wasteland. That is pretty good news for us. Let's plow this. Sure, you get your free card. Let's get our Wasteland down, take out this Saga, and we'll move it along. We might be in a situation where we have to pitch the Thwart to a Force, and we just need the velocity of the Brainsurge and just trust in our deck to be able to answer our opponent's things instead of setting up a late game soft lock. Retrofit is Foundry. Well, Prismatic Ending cleans that up pretty nicely. Okay, I'm going to cast a Brainstorm. Maybe we'll put back this Thwart for now. And would I like to make a land drop here? Would I like this Ponder? I guess we can do both. So we can Ponder here. Oh, an accumulated knowledge. Okay, I'll put the Thwart on the bottom, then the AK, then the Flooded Strand. Play this out. Let's get rid of this Retrofitter's Foundry. If our opponent forces this, do we force back, is the question. I think we might do. They're probably just going to make a 1-1, which is fine. We'll take some incidental damage from it over time, but maybe at some point Secure the Waste jumps in the way and blows it up. Nope. They fetched, but then they didn't make a 1-1, so they probably have something at end step here. No. Okay. So if we don't want the accumulated knowledge, we can always go and get one of these cards from our graveyard. So we could go and get a good old-fashioned Counterspell here. Do I prefer that to an AK? I think so. Sorry, AK. And then we still have the Brainsurge that we can utilize as well. Is this an end of turn Brainsurge? I think that's not a bad use of our mana here. Double AK. Big fan of this. What do we not need here? I guess we're playing the... I guess the Get Lost goes down. And then the Saga Lantern, then we just draw the Saga Lantern and play it. So this shuts off the breakfast combo. I don't think it matters what we take here. And then we just hold up Counterspell and Plow, and then we can just AK and then AK again. We know we've got a removal on top for a Planeswalker if they have something like a Teferi, because they won't be able to play Teferi and go in the same turn. Got that sweet accumulated knowledge. I'm accumulating all the knowledges. I'm so wise. We can just hold up a load of stuff. We don't need to spend our mana here. We can just chill on it and then set up a big AK in our opponent's end step again. If the AKs in our deck are always in pairs, that would be nice. A Carpet of Flowers. This is a lot of mana. Is this the break point that we're worried about, though? I don't think it is. It's good, though. We can just Prismatic Ending this. Our opponent gets one turn to try and dump some stuff. Sure, they can have a Ponder. They know we have a Counterspell in hand. But we have 2 removal spells at instant speed. We've got a Counterspell. We've technically got 2 Counterspells. I don't really want to pitch this AK to the Force, so we probably cast the AK looking for a blue card. I don't believe we know the top card of our library at this point, so... They did not shuffle. Okay, they have a Saga. So we're looking for a Wasteland again. And they're not using the rest of their mana there. Let's accumulate some more knowledge. Okay, a Ponder is a pretty good way of digging up a Wasteland. Let's try and find that Wasteland. None of these are named Wasteland. A Brainstorm. We've got plenty of cards to hide away here. Still no Wasteland, but plenty of stuff that I like the look of. We haven't played a land drop yet, so we probably want to be doing that. I guess we can put the Terminus on top. And maybe the Get Lost. We need to work out which order these are going in, though. We don't have a 3-drop. We could put a Force on top so that we know that they can't force us back. That's pretty solid. So we could go like Terminus on top and then a Force. We can play our land for turn. Deploy the Counterbalance. A Force of Will, pitching Narcomoeba. Do I want to thwart this? How many cards do we have in hand? 6. So we go down to 5, 6, 7, 8. So we end up having to discard if we cast a Thwart here. And what was our land situation? 2 turns until we get to do stuff again. I don't like the Thwart here. I think I'm going to pitch this Counterspell. A Veil of Summer. Feels like we have to go all in here. Okay. So we're a little bit light on counterspells right now. We're going to pop our graveyard up here because it's an important zone. We still have this Solar Lantern though. And we can use this as an instant speed Terminus on the following turn if we want to. Because we know we have a Terminus there, so we can just draw in our opponent's turn. A Counterbalance. I know what's on top of my library, so I'm not going to reveal here. We are a little bit behind on clock, which is not a surprise. I'm talking a lot, and our deck has a lot of operations. I think we have enough time to reach a conclusion for this game. We've depleted a bunch of our opponent's resources. That was quite a big fight. We did win it, but it wasn't without a cost. Stock up. So top card of our library is a 5-drop, so we're going to let them stock up, unfortunately. They're just prodding and probing to see what's on top. Obviously, stock up is a card they very much want to cast. We are a matchup where the stock ups in their deck give them quite a lot of leeway because we're giving them the time. I'm not a massive lover of what this as a saga is going to do to us. But we've got a lot of life to work with. And we do have a Terminus on top for the next turn. The 6-drop being on top of our library is not the most useful. We don't know what the card underneath it is. We can pop the Solar Lantern to get a fresh look and Terminus these guys away at the same time. That is a thing we're allowed to do. But we'll see what our opponent's up to. There is a Shuko. Our opponent's got 5 cards in hand. I think this is going to be close either way. They didn't make another construct, which is interesting. They're casting a Prismatic Ending on our Counterbalance. Now they're casting a Brainstorm. So the Solar Lantern, as long as this is in play, we don't lose to our opponent's combo. Now we still have to get through the Nadu side of things, but that is a different problem. Do I want to trade my Terminus for this construct? I think so. A Force of Negation. Sure. I honestly don't care about that. Let's deploy this Mystic Sanctuary. What would I like to get back here? We could just get back an Accumulated Knowledge and just draw more cards. I think that's probably the way forward here. And I will... We only have 1 white mana. I don't think we get to... I don't think we get to hit the Shuko there. We have to hold up this Plow. Maybe that was wrong, just cast that Terminus, but then we get hit by that Counterspell. However it happens. Alright, that's his Oracle Beatdown. Sure. I don't believe we're going to lose to these little creatures. Alright. If this is the best our opponent can do, I'm okay with that. I don't want to spend my instant speed removal on this. What would I like to do here? We could Mystic Sanctuary and get something back straight away. So if I put this, we can put the Thwart on top and just establish that little soft lock. And then I think I am okay to Prismatic Ending this construct. They're going all in for this. Okay, I'm going to cast an Accumulated Knowledge in response. And then I will Thwart this. Do I need this island or do I need this Tundra? I guess we can play that Tundra next turn. Let's just get rid of this for now. If that's the line our opponent's on, we can shut it down. Dot up. It's a very good find. We've got Force, a Plow, and maybe a Get Lost. Sure. A Nadu Winged Wisdom. I don't really want that to hit the board here. I think we have to just try and counterspell that one. Don't think we remove this yet. Seems our turn. We don't have a Brainstorm anymore. A Counterbalance is pretty nice though. I'll deploy this, get the Counterbalance on the go. And Nomads in Court. What's on top of our library? Accumulated Knowledge. I'm happy to have a 2-mana draw 3 on top of my library. A Nadu Winged Wisdom. Don't like this very much. So we know this isn't going to work. If we hit this, they still get to draw a bunch of cards. So they can draw 4 cards this turn plus extras. Or we can try and hit the Nadu. And then hope that they don't ping off too much in response. I think we just lose here, to be honest. I don't think we beat this. Nadu is so unreasonable. Alright. So they just get to do it in response here. Like, Nadu is not the biggest problem in Legacy right now. But when we answer the biggest problems, I think it's definitely something that should be on our radar of things to be worried about. Alright, they're just having lands though. Just all lands. That's a very good land, but It's still a land. Right, Illusionist. We'll let them finish what they're doing here, and then we'll turn off the yields. So they can mill their whole library here, but we have the Soulguide Lanterns, so that doesn't work out for them. Nomads, they know that this works. Just get back this. I'll put a Prismatic Ending on top. I'll cast an Accumulated Knowledge. I will Prismatic Ending. I guess it doesn't matter too much here, does it? I guess we hit one of the nomads. Just need to keep their creatures down. The fact that they exiled our Terminus is actually huge here, because if we just had a Terminus that we could just put on top, then this game would be pretty easy to win. It just happened to be a Force of Negation that they fired off on it. Our opponent has lost connection, so maybe we'll get to claw back the couple of minutes behind in clock we are. Our opponent has returned. Memory's Journey. Targeting some stuff. I don't want them to know what's on top of our library, so I'm not going to reveal it. I want to keep that surprise. They're also trying to fish to get rid of our Soulguide Lantern. Right, you've got to resolve your Carpet Flowers and your Urza Saga triggers. Nomads and Core. I guess we probably have to fight now. Entreat the Angels. That's mana value 3, so they can't cast a Nardu this turn, which is good news. We can make some guys next turn if we want to, but I don't really know if we want to do that. Sure, you can get your Illusionist in. We know that this is not a thing we get to. So we could just like target their Illusionist a bunch and see if we can mill them out. I think we're just going to plow this Oracle here. They shouldn't have any more basics. I don't think we get to make the Entreat the Angels here. Like, we can make 8 power. That kind of stops what's happening here. But then we lose our ability to interact with them in any way. So we know this works. Do I just make 8 power and go... Our opponent is Hellbent. Yeah, I think we do make the 8 power, actually. Wait, did I miss something here? I thought we had Entreat the Angels on top of our library. Alright, I don't have time to figure out what's going on there. I will put an Accumulated Knowledge on top of our library for next turn. This also gives us hardcast Force of Will. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage over there. So they make a construct, that's 7. So we don't have hardcast Force of Will. We need to get rid of one of these constructs, I think. What happened to that? Entreat the Angels. I don't know. I am playing quickly because of our clock. I don't think we get to hold up a Force of Will here. Planes, okay. Wait, what? Did I not just put... I just put an Accumulated Knowledge on top of my library? What is going on? I don't know, let me know in the comments, because it does feel like something is a bit weird over here. Right, so let's make this go absent. Sure, I put the Accumulated Knowledge on top of our library. Maybe I just clicked no by accident because I was rushing. So what do we do? What happens here? This is 2, 3, 4 damage. That is too much damages. So we have to... We can get rid of this, and then we're still dead. So we have to crack our Soulguide Lantern to draw an answer here. Or maybe that Entreat the Angels. Lórien Revealed. Okay, that doesn't work for us either. I think we're just dead here, right? Yeah. Very strange. I don't know what happened with our Mystic Sanctuary line there. Maybe I have to go back and watch the replay. But I'm pretty sure we Mystic Sanctuary and put Accumulated Knowledge on top. That was what my plan was. And I put the trigger on, and I must have clicked no by accident. I don't know, because I was rushing. But I don't know what happened to that Entreat the Angels, because we didn't shuffle our library. What am I missing? Let me know in the comments. I'm really confused about what happened there. I thought we had that one, to be honest. Like, we should have got back our Accumulated Knowledge, and I thought we were just going to make a bunch of Angels. They didn't mill us with some random card. This can't mill us. I really don't know what happened there. Let me know in the comments while you're watching this one, because you're probably a little bit more on the ball than I am in terms of rushing past the clocks. I didn't have time to look at it all. I'm pretty sure we revealed the Entreat the Angels here. So let's have a look. Okay, so I've looked up. So we put trigger of Counterbalance. Entreat the Angels, reveal with Counterbalance. Okay, so they cast Cephalid Illusionist. We get attacked. We path the Oracle. Put the trigger ability of Counterbalance. We don't reveal because we know it's the Entreat the Angels, activate Shuko. It goes to our turn. We draw for turn. And yeah, the Entreat the Angels isn't on top of our library anymore. What? According to this this chat log, there is some sort of bug there. Very weird. All right, let's go to round 2. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. I felt like if we just Entreat the Angels there, we beat this board quite easily, and our opponent didn't look like they were doing any combo-y stuff. So I think we actually had that game, but if it wasn't for what I can only assume is a bug here. Yeah, reveals Entreat the Angels ability. Then they cast Sephirhead Illusionist. Then we get attacked. We path to exile one of their guys, so we don't shuffle. They didn't shuffle off the path. Then their memories. Oh, okay. They target us with the memories journey. I see. I must have missed that. So they shuffled off the Entreat the Angels. Yeah, well played, opponent. That was what that was. The not putting the accumulated knowledge on the on top of our library there. I'm not sure what happened there. I think we must have misclicked then. That's the only thing that makes sense. All right. It all makes sense now. Okay, let's go to round 2. Island Ponder. I'll take it. Yes, it is only one land, and it is a non-basic. A Tamiyo. Sure. Are we supposed to kill the Tamiyo? The fact that we draw another land means probably our deck is not very good against Tamiyo. Do we need to Force of Negation this? No. If we do on our opponent's turn, they could Brainstorm away. Alright, we managed to clean up the Tamiyo. If they Wasteland us here, we still have a land that we can ponder with. They didn't Wasteland us. Very nice. Thank you, opponent. I appreciate you. There's no Orcish Brainmaster that can come down from this. So we're just going to Brainstorm, move some bits and pieces around. I don't think we're going to need a Soulguide Lantern for this matchup. Certainly not right now. Tamiyo probably means they're doing something a bit more on the control spectrum. So we can get rid of this, and we can get rid of... Just get rid of another land. I like having removal here. Do we need all these Ponders and Brainstorms? Guess we can get rid of a Ponder. Deploy this. Cast a Ponder. We're only ordering Shuffle here, I think is fine. Alright, let's hope that non-creature spells are what our opponent is all about. Now we can start doing some brainstorming, brain surging. So our opponent, I suspect, is somewhere in the... not a fan of this. I was going to say somewhere in the ballpark of like Dreadnought or something maybe. Okay, we could Brainstorm here. What are we brainstorming for? I guess we don't really need these Force of Negations, do we? So let's cast a Brainstorm. That's a lot of land, isn't it? Let's put back a land, and I guess we'll keep a Force of Negation to pitch to Force of Negation. Let's put back 2 lands, and then deploy this Flooded Strand. I want our opponent to crack this fetch land at end step, and then we will path their guy. Okay, they did not do that. This is an issue. Because if our opponent attacks and we remove this, they Brainstorm with... going to struggle against a Planeswalker here. Secure the Waste, very poor at pressuring Planeswalkers. Well, they're very poor at pressuring this particular Planeswalker. So now our opponent just has a card advantage engine, and we don't. So we are behind. A Teferi. Not a card that I'm particularly great at dealing with. Let's try and Force of Negation that one. Alright, we succeeded. I think we're on Meticulous Archive times. Planes, I don't think we're about planes right now. Unexpectedly absent. This is an answer to Tamiyo. That's good news. In which case, I think we Brainstorm now looking for a land. I know we just threw a land away, but we didn't know we were going to draw an answer. We had to dig towards an answer. Okay, now we have many answers, but no land drop. Interesting. We're probably not casting this Entreat the Angels for a little while. We don't need that in our hand. And next turn doesn't matter because we're going to draw it anyway, so I guess we just put this on top. Not a great brain surge for us there. Yep, they're just accruing lots of advantage with these clues, so they can flip this now. Okay, a Ponder. That's how they're going to flip it, sure. We have a Council Judgment, which cleans us up. We also have an Unexpectedly Absent. Do we play the Council Judgment into a potential Daze? Does our opponent look like they're playing Dazes? Hard to say, given how this game has panned out so far. We could Brainstorm. It gets us to see 2 new cards. I think I want to Brainstorm. It could definitely go awry, but we can unexpectedly absent if we need to. Okay. So we don't need this Entreat the Angels. I don't... Actually, no. Secure the Waste can go back. And maybe it is the Entreat as well. And we'll try and dig that up later. We could just play... We could draw the Entreat next turn. Make two 4/4s. That gives us another line to pressure this if the unexpectedly absent or cancel judgment doesn't work. I think I will try out the judgment. I don't think our opponent looks like they're playing daisies. They want to have their mana to crack their clues. Alright, we've got something happening over here. They're going to just crack their clue looking for an answer. A Spell Pierce. Okay, so that would have hit whatever we played there. Okay, so we can make 2 Angels next turn. And we still have the unexpectedly absent before they pop off here. I wonder if they get a card back with the Tamiyo or just keep going upstairs with it. They are getting back the Spell Pierce. Understood. A Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. What are they going to find here? So we're on blue-white Stoneblade. Okay, they got Cryptic Coat. So that's a blue card for Force of Will. I will say no to this. I would like to path to exile this Stoneforge around a Spell Pierce. I wonder how many basics they have in their deck. Have they got a Swamp? Are they the Esper Stoneblade build that's been popping around? They don't appear to have put anything in. That's good news. So now what? We have accumulated knowledge. We want to crack this land anyway. We can put back the Council's Judgment on top and we can just keep trying to answer this. That seems fine. We don't want to secure the Waste anymore. There is the Cryptic Coat. Sure. Kind of an interesting permanent to deal with. I'm more worried about this Tamiyo than anything else though. There is a Spell Pierce in the works for our opponent. We need to be aware of that. Let's get back this Council's Judgment, I think. And let's draw the Council's Judgment. Between Council's Judgment around a Spell Pierce. So let's try that out. A Spell Pierce. I will pay. Another Spell Pierce. Well, well, well. We do have an answer for this Cryptic Coat, but we need them to not have the mana to bounce it. Leave our graveyard out because we have Mystic Sanctuaries on our deck that are important to select the right bits and pieces. 2 Spell Pierces in 2025. Incredible stuff. Like, it's working for our opponents, so can't argue with that. They had a Tamiyo. So now they get to make some clues. We know they've got the... What's it called? The Cloak of Making Us Sad over there. Yeah, so they basically have 2 card advantage engines and we have none. Which is kind of the problem with playing a spell-based deck in modern day Legacy. We can bury this. We can plow this. I guess if we're plowing, we probably want to plow first to make sure it's gone for good. Because if they flip it, then they only get one of these Tamiyos anyway. And then I want to make this absent somehow. How much am I going to pay to change where this is? Intriguing. I think if they go to bounce the Cryptic Coat, then we will bury the Tamiyo deep. Are they just cracking a clue? I will let this clue resolve. And now I will bury this. Put it way down. 3 cards down. Like, yes, I get to keep the card, but this is basically taking up one of their draws, so it kind of ends up card neutral for us. If we draw another land, we can just make 8 power. And that's an okay way of pressuring Planeswalkers. Which is why I wanted the 1 of Entreat in the deck. Secure the Waste is not a win condition in a format with Tamiyo. Yep, I suspect they're going to attack us with this coat, bounce it, and redeploy the coats. Just keep this train running. So the next card down should be the Tamiyo. No, should be 1 card below that, right? Just beneath the top X cards, yeah. So next turn they can put a Tamiyo underneath this. Which can't be blocked, which is certainly irritating for us, but I think we can live with that. I'm not going to make just 1 Angel here, that doesn't feel amazing. If we exercise this and they just bounce it, we can just plow, holding up the ability to pay around a bunch of soft permission. Is that worth doing? And we can pay through the ward if we care about that. It is really annoying that they can just bounce this in response. It's a very hard permanent for us to interact with. Is it better to have a 4/4 here? That taps us out of white mana if that's relevant. We wait one more turn, then we get 2 4/4s. Well, one more land. I think we just have to pass here. Our opponent having more card advantage engines than us is a problem. Wish this was instant speed. This isn't here to blow up Cryptic Coat. It's here to stop things like the One Ring, as well as also being able to just kill some big things like Murktide or whatever it needs to, and blowing up those as sagas. Like, it has a lot of use. Just not what we're doing right now. Am I trying to kill one of these? Do we need to kill one of these? Doesn't feel like we need to kill one of these. Jace the Mind Sculptor. So we get to blow this up. This does make our Entreat the Angels a lot worse. I don't think we need to plow this, do we? This is a Tamiyo, I believe, right? So we do actually want this gone. I'll pay the ward 2 on this. It was a Tamiyo. We worked out because we put it there. Secure the wastes. We can just exercise this Cryptic Coat and get rid of that for now. We can make 3 power, which can pressure this Jace if it just goes upstairs. I don't think we're trying to double block one of these. I think we need to answer their Planeswalker and just take another hit to the face. Our opponent is doing similar things to us, but they're bigger with more card advantage engines. Which kind of begs the question, why aren't we playing more card advantage engines? But the whole idea of this deck is that we're trying to be low to the ground, not trying to play like 4-drops, so we can leverage this like really sweet endgame. But our opponent's got more cards in hand. Back to basics. Yeah, I don't think we're beating that, but it's tough. Let's try and kill this Jace. I'm not a big fan of this, but it's what we have to do. A Batterskull. Yeah, we're not winning this one, are we? I think our opponent's control deck is just better than ours in a lot of ways. We are very weak to Planeswalkers. We already knew that. We brought in more Planeswalker hate. Wastelands are not a thing we want here. The Meddling Mages, I quite like. They pressure Planeswalkers. They can say no to the thing that we're most worried about. They are playing a bunch of creatures as well, so we want to keep our creature removal in. I don't think we need Graveyard Hate here, so we can get rid of the 2 lanterns. I'm just thinking of 2 more cuts here. The Exorcise kills Batterskull, kills Cauldra, kills the Cryptic Coat, so I'm down for that. Council Judgment kills Planeswalkers, so we need that. Secure the Waste helps us pressure Planeswalkers. Prismatic Ending does some stuff here. We're probably just going down on a couple of Force of Wills. Now you might be saying, why are you going down on Force of Wills and not Force of Negation? The spells our opponent plays that we care about are non-creature spells. Force of Negation is very hard castable. We could board in Hydroblast just for their 4th Eolingus and Red Blasts. Is that a thing we need to do? I don't think so. Alright, this is fine. We just don't beat back to basics very easily either. There's a lot of problems with our deck in terms of how it matches up against our opponent here. We need a Null Rod for Planeswalkers. Something I've wanted for a very long time. Alright, this is a creature that we get to Prismatic Ending. So we can Brainstorm first. And then Prismatic Ending it. Okay, we're not about Entreat the Angels right now. Are we about Secure the Wastes? Maybe. Maybe not. I think that's probably the one that goes here. Okay, let's go and get... I guess it's still a Tundra that we want. We don't want to get killed by back to basics, but I don't think we get to deal with it very easily otherwise. Like, we have the Force of Negations. Force of Will. They pitched 2 cards. They had a Lavinia, which is interesting. Okay. So, I guess we play out this island. Do we need to ponder right now? I don't think so. We can hold it as Force of Negation, and we can just plow this when the time is right. I'm a bit worried about just getting Brainstorm, so we can't just plow this. This card is really irritating for us to deal with, to be honest. Let's Island Cycle. Let's go and get Mystic Sanctuary. Let's try and plow this now. If they Brainstorm here to save it, then we Mystic Sanctuary, get the thing back. Okay. That worked out alright for us. Would I like to ponder here? Or would I like to have the Prismatic Ending in hand first? I think I'm just going to ponder first and then see what we're working with. Like having the Counterspell a lot. I guess we bury the Lórien Revealed. I don't think we need to put anything on top now. I like the Prismatic Ending on top. I guess we could just put the Ponder on top though. Okay, so we've got a bunch of Counterspells. Okay, so they're cracking a land. Stoneforge Mystic. Let's say no to that one. Alright. Now we could have Prismatic Ending that if we wanted to, but because we know that's on top, we could have pondered into it. But I think we're fine just where we are right now. So hopefully they'll play a really powerful non-creature spell. That certainly counts, doesn't it? Do I want the Prismatic Ending on top of my library? Yes, because that answers the back to basics if this doesn't work. Okay, I'll take this. So the next card down is a Lórien Revealed. Do I want that? Or do I just want a Counterspell on top of my library? Let's just go and get a Counterspell, I think. Okay. I like this selection of things. We've got Counterspells. Are we Counterspelling this one? I think so. So the reason I'm a bit reluctant to use the Prismatic Ending is because this can answer a whole host of different things if they force back. Because if they have a force and we fight over the Stoneforge and they force it, then we get to Prismatic Ending it. If they have a force and we don't fight over it, then they fight over the thing that answers it, and then we're in trouble. That's the logic there. Meticulous Archive. Let's do some Surveil action. A Lórien Revealed. Sure. This draws us some cards. And then we can just bounce some lands. Yep, you can draw from your clue token. We're pretty even on cards we've seen right now. It's very much the difference between this game and the previous one. I would like to not have to deal with this. A Brainstorm from our opponent, sure. If we have to Thwart here, we can. The Lórien Revealed can get us a black source so we can cast Prismatic Ending to beat the back to basics, which is why I've been holding this whole time, because we do not really want to get locked underneath back to basics. Especially when our win conditions involve us tapping basically all of our lands. I'm probably going to see a basic island into Ponder here. A Tamiyo. Sure, we have an answer to that. Right, let's just draw 3 cards. Okay, now we're in it. Let's try and get rid of this Tamiyo. We are very far behind on clock here, though. I suppose our opponent is unlikely to be talking through all of their lines as they're playing. Jace the Mind Sculptor. I'm going to bounce a non-basic land for the purposes of back to basics being a thing we have to worry about. A Spell Pierce. Sure. We're getting blown out by these Spell Pierces repeatedly. We do have an answer for this. We can make it unexpectedly absent. And a Tamiyo. Yeah, so the problem is their spells, if they resolve their spell, it just gives them card advantage turn after turn after turn. Whereas our spells, we have to play the spell to get the card advantage, which is the problem with having permanents versus, having spells versus permanents. Permanents obviously interactable, but this is a win condition and a card advantage engine. Source of Plowshares, a bit too late for that one. We can make this guy absent. We can make this absent. I think the Tamiyo is kind of scarier right now. We could put Prismatic Ending on top of our library. And then we can accumulate knowledge. Get back our Prismatic Ending. Take out this Tamiyo. And pass. And then we have to get through another turn of Jace the Mind Sculptor doing its thing. Fourth Theolingus absolutely ruins us here as well. Many, many problems that we need to overcome from our opponent's deck. And they haven't even drawn any of their Red Blast yet. Cracking a Flooded Strand. Because our deck is lower to the ground, we should be better against some of these more aggressive decks. But our opponent is going to have the advantage on us because they're playing these powerful permanents like Jace. A Batter Skull. Okay, that's fine. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. Get Lost. This gets rid of the Planeswalker. I think that is where I want to be here. We want to play around. I'd quite like to get this Get Lost back is the problem. So I think we just play the Tundra this turn. And then we get this Jace Lost while our opponent doesn't have any mana up. A Brainstorm. Sure. Have a couple of map tokens. Pull our graveyard out. Do we have an we haven't had an Exorcise yet. Right, so what is... Can I remember what Explore is? Prismatic Vista. Okay. A Teferi Time Raveler. Not a fan of that one. Are we going to get rid of the Batterskull and put it a couple of cards down? We can put it one beneath the top card of our opponent's library. That forces them into keeping this fetch land uncracked. Sure, we're getting destroyed by Spell Piercers. Absolutely destroyed by them. 1 mana interaction that is pretty much hard counters a lot of time. Ruining us. Absolutely ruining us. Now, we don't really care about this Phyrexian Germ token that much. So that spell receiving action isn't the worst for us. But our opponent's just got better card advantage engine than we have because theirs just sit and play every turn. Obviously, this doesn't draw a card every turn. But, okay, they've got an Assimilation Aegis. I think that goes on top of their library still. And they get counter on this. They can choose what they want to do with this. I don't think they're going to want the Assimilation Aegis. Nope, they're getting rid of it. I believe that's how Explore works. They either get the land into their hand if it's a land, or they get a +1/+1 counter. And then it stays on top, or maybe they choose where it goes. I don't remember. Entreat the Angels. Okay. We can't cast this because it's a Teferi, though. So what are we doing here? What do I want to put on top? Can we deal with this? We can put Get Lost on top. So if we put Get Lost on top, our opponent gets more map tokens. Not a big fan of that. But it's the answer we have available to us right now. And we Brainsurge, so we can put this Entreat the Angels on top next turn. A Pyroblast. Sure. I think we are in the... Let's just get rid of this Phyrexian Germ token. Our opponent's only got 1 card in hand. If we can make a bunch of Angels... So if we draw a land... No, we're not drawing a land. We're drawing Get Lost, aren't we? Okay. Get Lost is also an answer to Back to Basics, which is important to note. It's Enchantment, Creature, or Planeswalker. Okay, this is a thing that can get them a Cauldron or a Cryptic Coat. Do they want the Cryptic Coat as a guy? They do. Okay. One of the things I was tempted to put in our deck as a win condition was a one-of copy of the Wandering Emperor. So, what are we doing here? We can Get Lost away this Teferi. We can Get Lost away this creature here. We have to do it now because we don't get to play it at instant speed anymore. Is Teferi the thing that's actually the problem right now, or do we just need to get rid of... I guess the Teferi is kind of annoying. I don't really care about the cloak very much. We can't kill the cloak. We can only kill the cloaked creature, which is called a cloak. So, not the cryptic coat. Sorry, coat or cloak. Oh dear. I hate it. I think we have to get rid of the Teferi though. Is that true? They're going to put the Batterskull on one of their guys. How are we beating Batterskull on one of their guys? So this is 4/5 damage. Or it's 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. Which is a 2-turn clock, which means we probably have to get rid of this cloaked creature. Thanks, I hate it. I think our opponent's deck is much better in the mirror than ours. Spell Pierces in the non-creature spell matchups. Very strong. Alright. Now, these map tokens aren't free because our opponent can use them to look at some of their draws and stuff. Grow their guy, so maybe we haven't actually reduced ourselves at all. We might not have reduced the clock at all here. The reason for wanting to get rid of the Teferi is because the Teferi has good answers to our Entreat the Angels, but an unblockable creature is still an unblockable creature. They probably want to put the Batterskull on the unblockable creature, and that becomes a real problem for us. We do have Terminus, but we can't Terminus while Teferi is around. Just so many permanents our opponent has that are really problematic for us. Alright. 3-turn clock, here we come. There could be more, depending on how these go. I do wish they actually had the text of Explore when they activate the ability, or even on the card. Because I don't know the full text of Explore. So there's a Brainstorm on top of their library, they're hitting us for 6. They could have mapped again to have lethal next turn. Kind of curious why they didn't do that. Swords 2 Plowshares. Well, that is the thing that we get to do here, isn't it? But our opponent has seen 13 more cards than us. Now, they had Jace running for a few turns. This is going to put in the Cryptic Coat. They can then equip the Batterskull to the Cryptic Coat and we lose. Yeah. We just got absolutely buried. Their deck is way better in a situation like this because of all the things I said during this matchup. We are trying to be lower to the ground so that we can interact with the speed of Legacy right now. And they are just sort of going over the top. They're obviously going to have a rough time into a bunch of things, but certainly not us. Let's go to round 3. Okay. I'll take it with this one. It's not ideal because of the Sanctuary. Devourer of Destiny. Alright. We've got some Eldrazi action. Enters the battlefield tap land here is certainly annoying. Eldrazi Temple. What is this? A Talisman of Curiosity. I don't believe that is where we're fighting here. We can exile this if that's what we want to do, but this also kills some of their big creatures. Alright. We've got some removal. They probably don't have another basic in their deck. We've got some removal. We can always just draw a card if we need to. Okay. The Cavern of Souls. Great. Great, great, great. Thought Not Seer. I guess we wait for this to resolve, and then we probably cast a Brainstorm and then Plow. Sorry, Path, not Plow. I don't think they're going to have the basics, so this should just be a clean answer. Alright, the Plow stays on top. Is there anything else we want to hide? Probably the Exorcise. Would I rather have the Exorcise or the Plow this turn? Alright, so I think we put these back. And we pass this. I'm not expecting our opponent to have an answer. Sorry, to have a basic for our answer here. Let's just snap this off now. I guess this means we draw the Swords to Plowshares. Actually, we should have stacked these the other way, thinking about it. So they'll take our removal spell here. We do have another removal spell. We should have stacked the other way so we had the instant speed one. That was just my mistake there. Looking forward to having some Wastelands though. 4 cards in our opponent's hand. One of them is a big monster. I think we just go... They took our Brainsurge, which is really interesting. Right, let's just Brainstorm. Get out of here. Force of Will. Do I want... I don't really want to draw these lands. Which means we probably put back this island. We want to mill over this Force, actually. So we put back the island. And then the Force. And then we're playing the Archive. Milling over the Force. And then our opponent's going to cast a Sown Microspawn with Kicker. And we're going to lose 2 of our lands. And then we're going to have a really horrible time. At least this isn't going to clip any of our permanents, because we're unlikely to have any permanents. Yep, here is a spell that everybody wants banned from Legacy. Here it comes. Sown Microspawn. Your friend and mine. They're exiling our Meticulous Archive. Bit rude, we can't counter it either. And there's a Wasteland. I don't like it, but we have to just keep their creatures down, I think. Yep, disgusting. Alright, we're going to lose all of our permanents this turn. What is this creature? I guess we play out the island here. And we can exercise this Devourer of Destiny. But I think there is 2 main reasons that Control is doing so poorly in Legacy. I think one of them is Sown Microspawn existing. Like, if we're just playing something slowly, they will eventually beat us with Microspawns, and we're just not going to have the ability to play. Oh, yikes. And the other one is the One Ring, because we can never keep up with the One Ring. So normally what would happen is the Ancient Tomb decks would pitch multiple resources in order to get their stuff down and try and beat you down with it ahead of curve. And then if you can clean up the pieces, then you're okay. Whereas now that doesn't matter, because you have to spend your resources to make sure they don't kill you with the stuff they're doing. And then they just play the best kind of Advantage Engine on top of that. And then you're dead. Okay. Let's accumulate some knowledge, I guess. Yikes. Eldrazi Temple. Are they going to play their big friend out? They are not. Let's have a card. It's a useless one. Cool. A Lórien Revealed. This is actually getting towards being okay. Let's go and get Tundra. We're just trying to get up so we can get our Mystic Sanctuary to get back our Plow. And we can plow the Thwart here. Maybe we just path it since we know they have no basics. Blast Zone, that's fine. Oh no, we don't have enough things, do we? Oh, that was such a punt. So used to having all the islands. That was such a huge mistake. Okay. I guess we have a plan. It's make 8 power of guys. Yeah, that was such a spew by doing that with the Mystic Sanctuary. Alright, so we're going to take some damage from this. Alright, let's have 8 power. So they're going to blow up one of them with their guy. Next turn we can secure the wastes. But this is very much the last thing you want to see as a control player, is the old Eldrazi deck. They've got a lot of mana, but they don't have the most exciting stuff to do with it. Like, you know, a 6/6 that kills one of our guys is relatively exciting. I won't argue that. But they don't have, like, the Eye of Ugin to just keep chaining Micah spawns and killing us. Alright. Goodbye, 1 angel token, but this stops the Thwart from attacking us. But we could have had a source to Plowshares in the mix here. We can block this for a bunch of turns, at least, because we have this Secure the Wastes. But we have just 3 dead cards in our hand because Cavernous Souls exists. And we lost 3 of our lands that could have allowed us to have a much bigger selection of angels. Alright. Good blocks. Let's try and kill this Devourer of Destiny. Alright. We can block this for a couple of turns. Our deck does have a lot of removal in. Alright. I think it's worth hitting this now. A Counterbalance. Probably unlikely to do anything here, but it's a thing that we have. And then in come the soldiers. We have gotten to some stability here. Just about. A Flooded Strand. This will give us a bunch more angels next turn, and we can probably win the game from there. If our opponent plays a spell without their cavern, we can just put something on top. We definitely have enough islands this time. After I misstep earlier. Another cavern. Probably not what our opponent wants. I think we have one more Mystic Sanctuary in here. We do. Let me have this Entreat the Angels, please. Having this Entreat the Angels as a line that we can take is really nice. Oh, it was a miracle. White, white, and some other mana. What is happening here? Is this just a big Kozilek's Command? That's fine by me because we have a Force of Will and they can't make this uncounterable. So we probably do Force of Will, pitching Force of Negation. I don't believe that our Counterbalance is going to do anything there. We have 16 power of flying guys in play. We are in a good spot. We didn't reveal the top card of our library because we don't want our opponent to know what it is. Obviously, we're going to see it in a second anyway. We're going to see a big K command here. We're just going to get... Like, we don't care about Micah Spawn at this point because we just have a bunch of angels. Flesh Raker. We do have 3 drops, so I guess we will reveal. No, we won't because it's uncounterable anyway. A Solga Lantern. No good. No good. So are they just going to kill us with whatever this turn? Top card is a irrelevant card there. Alright, it's our turn. Solga Lantern can redraw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I guess there's no harm in playing it out. So we just hit for 12 here because we can hit for 12 this turn, 12 next turn. That's lethal. We may as well play out this Solga Lantern. We still have high cast Force of Will. Not that that's going to be a big deal. Although the fact that it can nail a Kozilek's Command, which is the one thing that can definitely kill us from this spot. Alright. We managed to get the first game against Eldrazi. Somehow we pulled it out. Alright, I would like some removal. I would like some Consign to Memories. Wasteland, I think we probably want as well. I kind of like the Meddling Mage here because we just name the thing we're scared about, like Kozilek's Command or the So Micah Spawn that can do some real work for us. Force of Negation looks really bad here. Force of Will doesn't look very good either, but I think we probably need it. Is Counterbalance doing the job for us here? Probably not. They've got some pretty high mana values that we're not going to be able to hit, so the Counterbalances can go. We don't need Solga Lanterns. So we've ripped out 65 cards already. All the removal spells look good. So let's keep these in. Prismatic Ending doesn't have the most amount of targets, but it's fine. Secure the Wastes can keep us alive. Unexpectedly Absent is a removal spell. So these things all make sense. Do we have enough time in this matchup to ponder underneath our opponent doing a whole bunch of like potential chalice-y type stuff, which is another reason to keep the Prismatic Endings in. I don't know if we get to remove any of our Wastelands, any of our lands here. We could remove like one Underground Sea, but our opponent's trying to Wasteland us. So we probably want these as spells. Like, what are we actually trying to hit with these Wastelands is the next question as well. Because if we're, like, we want to hit their Eye of Ugin mostly. So I think it is right to have these in, but it's obviously not easy to fit them all in. The Force of Wills and Counterspells look pretty bad here, so they can go out. How many Force of Wills do we want? I think we still need to have some. Council Judgment is slow, but it is a removal spell, so we just need to be working on that. Brainsurge is quite slow. I don't think that's where we want to be. Secure the Waste is fine. Unexpectedly Absent is fine. Maybe we're just trimming a couple of ponders here. Like if we get locked under a chalice, that's not going to help. We're going to be holding up our Consign to Memories a lot. We'll try this. Okay. We have 2 removal spells. We have a Counterspell if they don't happen to have the Cavern. We can obviously turn their Cavern off with our Wasteland. We're probably pitching the Thwart to the Force of Will here. Am I fighting over an Eldrazi Temple? I don't believe this is the land that we're supposed to fight over. Would I like to ponder here? Would I like to just get Meticulous Archive and hold up the Plow? I think I would like to hold up the Plow here and just get Meticulous Archive. We'll get half a ponder in whilst holding up interaction. That is a waste and nothing else from our opponent. Yes, we're going to be exposed to Wasteland, but that is just the nature of how this matchup works for us. Our deck is supposed to operate on low land counts, so in theory, us getting Wastelanded shouldn't be the end of the world. I'd like to find another land here. We don't really want to secure the wastes. We found a land, it was a Wasteland. I think that means we're supposed to be pondering here. We found a land, that's good. I will take that land, we've got a Brainstorm as well. I will Wasteland our opponent here, because they didn't do anything with their mana last turn. We can keep them off of 2 mana this turn. They probably weren't expecting Wastelands from us either, but we will always keep 1 Wasteland around because we want to be able to nail the scary things like the Cavern. Like if we spend our Force of Will, then we don't have to go after the Cavern. We can go after the Eye of Ugin, which allows them to multi-spell a lot more easily. And we can also go after like a coloured source if we can shut them off with Microspawn potentially. And Eldrazi Temple. So didn't do anything last turn. We were sat around doing this. Do we just want to go again with this Wasteland? I am thinking about it, you know. Just gives us some more time. I was just talking about how we want to save this for specific things. But it feels a little bit like our opponent's trying to build up into a Microspawn. So I'm going to get rid of their Temple. And I'm going to take them off of green mana here. Who's the mana denial deck now, opponent? And next time we can Brainstorm and look at fresh cards. Move some bits and pieces around. What I liked about the Bant version we played is that we had the ability to recur Wastelands with a Life from the Loam in our deck. Now that wasn't always going to come up, we're only running 1, but I do love Loam locking people. It's just a nice access to have. Ancient Tomb. We found a win condition. It's our opponent's Ancient Tomb. Alright, Brainstorm. Show us the goods. Would like to find additional mana sources, please. Our opponent's deck is one that maybe runs out of resources where the Thwart lock can be enough, but they can probably just save up some cards over a few turns and get in with a Cavern, so I don't mind pitching this one. Okay, Entreat the Angels is not a thing I really want right now. Neither is this Unexpectedly Absent. So I guess we just do this and we play our white source so that we have the removal already. We have double Plow though. Double Plow, Force. The Accumulated Knowledge is something we want to actually cast, so our follow-up Accumulated Knowledges are better. Accumulated Knowledge is also quite a nice card to mill away with a Meticulous Archive. It's kind of like drawing a card off your archive. It's just delayed for later that you get the card. Sometimes you could potentially draw 3 cards off of the one you milled if you draw all the other copies. An Eye of Ugin. And nothing else. Alright, just a slow, cagey match, this one. So I'm going to draw the Unexpectedly Absent this turn. We could make an angel next turn. That means we're not going to cast this AK. Would I like to make one angel? Like, it can certainly pressure our opponent's Ancient Tomb next turn. We can start getting in at them. They would have to trade a real card to deal with it. Or not necessarily trade a card, but trade half of a card with its cast trigger. Either the bouncy guy, which is probably out of their deck at this point, or the Devourer. Our opponent is also not managing their clock very well, which does give us that potential win condition, which isn't really how I like to play the game, but I'll take it. So we can draw this card off the top of our library if we wish. This is going to be just a X's 3 Kozilek's command. Is this what I'm interacting with? I don't like it very much. We've been hurting our opponent's mana. So I could Force of Will this, pitching the accumulated knowledge, and try and ride this. No, I think we're just going to pitch this Thwart. I was thinking we could maybe ride the counter trade, but we don't know how long we're going to be able to counter our opponent's spells. But we've been restricting our opponent's mana. They haven't been doing anything with their mana. So I think this is important. Do I want to make a guy here? Or do I want to just get this card now? How useful is 1/4/4 on this board? This is 2 mana, 3 mana, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they have Devour of Destiny, which is the sort of thing they would have in hand they haven't cast. So I'm just going to draw this and move on with our life. A Tundra. We have 3 removal spells, and then at some point we can Brainstorm this on top. Cavern of Souls. This is why we pitched the Thwart, because that's just not a card that does enough for us. This is going to be a Sowing Microspawn, which is going to remove it's going to remove half of our permanents, and it's going to be uncounterable. What a well-designed Magic the Gathering card. I hate this thing. Everyone hates this thing. I don't know anyone who likes it. Okay. Let's float some white mana. I'm certainly not going to put this on top of our opponent's library. Are they just going to go get a Wasteland here? They are. I will plow this. So this is the problem. You can't just play a control deck when your opponent can just blow up half your permanents at will. Uncounterably. Like, yes, we can counter the triggers, but we have to have specifically consigned to memory. A Mystic Sanctuary that doesn't work, but we probably need the mana here. And we're a long way off of it, so let's just deploy that and wait till we get 2/3 of our permanents blown up. If they kick a Microspawn this turn, I think I'm going to scoop this one up. I don't really want to play into that anymore. And I'm pretty sure our opponent can put together a win with the permanents they have. Okay, they didn't have the Microspawn. Hallelujah. One time. Okay, we will Island Cycle this. We'll go and get a Tundra. We'll deploy a Tundra. That is 3 islands in play now. We have 2 removal spells. We only get to cast 1 in this turn cycle. Alright, it's a big Kozilek's command. Oh no, it's just activating the Ivugan. So this is going to find them the same Microspawn. Yep. Oh dear, oh dear. If you wanted a good demonstration of why people aren't playing Control in Legacy right now, this is certainly it. Eldrazi is the 3rd best deck at the moment by top 8 stats. So, yikes. This deck is the Eldrazi deck is very bad against Reanimator. But it's certainly going to do a number on us. So they get to exile basic lands, which is the real problem with this card. If it was said exile a non-basic land, I don't think people would mind as much. But you just can't do anything about it. Alright, this comes in. I'll plow it. We just need to stop getting hit for as long as we can. So we have no removal colour mana anymore, but we can still cantrip our way towards some more lands and removal. Talisman of Curiosity, that is irrelevant. They've got more than enough stuff going on over there. Swords to Plowshares. Okay. So next turn they tutor for a Sowing Microspawn. The turn after they take up both of our remaining permanents and we skip the game. So we need to have something really good this turn. A Meddling Mage. So this is a perfect spot in some respects. However, they do have the Blast Zone and we don't have the white mana. So they go and tutor for the Sowing Microspawn and we die here. We'll just show them tutoring up. And then we can skip the game. So Microspawn. So there is something we could have done differently here. We could have used our Wastelands differently and just waited on the Eye of Ugin for our Wasteland. That is a play that we had available to us that we didn't take. We're trying to capitalize on our opponent being slow out the door, and it didn't really pan out for us. So maybe we should have been better off hitting this. But the problem is, the first Zone Microspawn would just go and get another Eye of Ugin, and then we're just in it again. So, yeah. Oh, this is tied, isn't it? We get to play again. Woo! Fun. Okay, I guess we just go back in. I would like to try out this Meddling Mage tech and see how it feels. I thought that was the end of that round. Okay, so this is an unplayable hand, so let's mulligan. This is a playable hand. We have a lot of lands. I think I'm going to put back one of them, though. Right, let's have this ready for Meticulous Archiving. A Once Upon a Time. Drowsy Temple. Is that the land they're starting off with? No. A basic forest, you say? Let's get this Meticulous Archive. A Wasteland. I'll take that. We'll hold on to the Wasteland this time. I'll play a basic Plains. Yes, this isn't good for our count for our Mystic Sanctuary. So maybe we're supposed to keep the Tundra in play. We'll see what we got here. Just some little Chalice of the Void. Sure, I don't care about that. We might care about it later, but that is a problem for later. Right, let's just play out this Tundra. We're going to hold the Wasteland for the Eye of Ugin. Or the Cavern of Souls if we need to counterspell something. A Glaring Fleshraker. Would love to counterspell that, but we don't get to. Take out the Cavern, turn back on our counter magic. So our Consign to Memory does work through the Chalice. This counters the original copy, but doesn't counter the replicated copies. So we can still use it. Alright, and Eye of Ugin as well. Alright, the clock is on. I would like to cast with Replicate. So same target for the first one, and then this ability for the second one. Alright. A reasonable exchange. Oh, they got another one of these. Let's just get rid of this and put ourselves down to having nothing. Alright. So now this Chalice can come back to bite us. But I'm glad they don't have two Fleshrakers in play. I don't think we beat double Fleshraker in play. Just every spell domes us for so much damage. A Mystic Sanctuary. Potentially useful in the future. Because we didn't play out the Tundra earlier on, and we played out the Plains, we missed on the ability to Mystic Sanctuary up or Consign to Memory. But I don't think we are in a position where we can Mystic Sanctuary the Consign to Memory. We need to deal with this. Why is this not attacking? I guess they saw some stuff we had. Okay, so we have a Plow that doesn't do anything. So we can use the Consign to Memory to get through the Chalice because we can replicate to counter the triggers that are countering the Plow. I don't think that's what I want to do. I think I'm just going to play this land out. If our opponent isn't attacking us, then I'm okay with that. And then at some point we can hopefully destroy this Chalice. Are you going to start attacking yet? No. Alright. Whilst we're in this holding pattern, I don't hate it. Do I want this Consign to Memory back? I think so. It means we're not drawing something good for another turn. Obviously, Consign to Memory is pretty good still. And it does turn on the card in our hand in a pretty ugly fashion. We're going to see Kozilek's Command here. I think we lose if they cast a Kozilek's Command right now. Alright, Kozilek's Command. That is a lot of triggers. That's like half our life total gone. And then if they have another Kozilek's Command, we're just dead. So we just let our opponent stack them how they wish. Alright. Let's see how bad it is. They should kill us this turn. I thought not, Seer. Sure, we'll just F6 through this. We can just draw Terminus. No, we can't because we got the Consign to Memory on top. Yeah, I think we're just done here. Yikes, that matchup is brutal. Alright, so let's go to round 4. Still in search of a match win. I don't like this opener. Even if we're on the draw, I think we need some sort of cantrip to get things going. Oh, I don't like this very much either. Alright. Okay, this is fine. Goodbye, secure the wastes. Goodbye, one of the ponders. Just keep 2 lands, because otherwise we'd be pondering for lands. And then we have the accumulated knowledge, which can hopefully dig us out of the hole if we find additional copies of it. If our opponent just sends some sort of broken combo on turn 1, then we'll lose. but, you know, I don't think you should keep a hand that doesn't play the game just in case you're scared of turn 1 combo. Not in the blind on game 1. Alright, Flooded Strand from our opponent there. Do a nice little peaceful game for a bit. Let's draw some cards. Have a nice time. We might as well just have half of a ponder ready to go with this Meticulous Archive and then worry about pondering next turn. Or we can hold up the Accumulated Knowledge, depending on if we want to have access to a plow. We don't really know what our opponent's playing, so we just need to have maximum information here. I'd rather know what we're pondering for before just firing one off. Like, sure, we could, you know, just have some generically good stuff, but we have some pretty specific tools that we can leverage here and there, so I'd like to see what our opponent's doing first. Meticulous Archive, are we in some sort of mirror? Is this the breakfast deck? Is it Dreadnought? We don't know. Ancient Tomb, okay. Are we some sort of show and tell deck? A Curie, very curious. Okay, so we are a Dreadnought list. So we're going to go get a Meticulous Archive here. So we could get greedy and try to wait for our opponent to do something and then plow it. So maybe we get rid of the Dreadnought. So that exposes us to a whole bunch of other problems. I think we'll put the Revealed in the graveyard for now. Unexpectedly Absent. That's not really the one we want. So if we try to get our opponent to play a Dreadnought and then turn this into a Dreadnought, they'll be relatively tapped out on resources. I'm mostly worried about our opponent's ability to have free spells rather than ones they cast. So maybe this is greedy going for this plow, but we're on a multi-5. We need to try and leverage bits where we can. So they could just tap the Ancient Tomb in this, play a Dreadnought, turn the Curie into a Dreadnought. In response, we try and kill it. Okay, so we're just going to plow this now anyway. Unexpectedly Absent. Pretty good on Dreadnoughts as a general rule. Alright, we got rid of the Curie. A Ponder, that's fine. We don't have another Meticulous Archive to find. So we're just going to sit with this Ponder in play. Next turn we can Ponder into another land, play a land, hopefully Accumulated Knowledge, whilst holding up Unexpectedly Absent. Just putting a Dreadnought on top of their library is a really strong play because they need two things to make... Well, they need the Dreadnought and something else to make it even a functional card. And then we can stuff up our opponent's next draw by giving them maybe a Dreadnought without the thing to go with it. Is this going to be the Torpor Orb? Is this going to be that particular build? No, there is a build of this running around at the moment with Torpor Orbs in. Using the Ancient Tombs to power it out. Another Curie. If we draw a land, we can just dispatch this without worrying about days. But if we don't draw a land here, then we're going to have to make some decisions. Like, are we pondering? Swords to Plowshares. Okay, I would like to cast a Ponder. Actually, we want to crack this first. So we'll just go and get this Tundra, and then I'll cast a Ponder. I'm looking for an untapped land. That is an untapped land. Good news. Play this, and we'll go for the same play we did last time. And then we have Accumulated Knowledge at some point we can fire off. Right, it's our opponent's turn. Taking some quite big pauses between plays here. There is a Phyrexian Dreadnought. I'm going to do the Curie thing. I will plow this in response. If this doesn't go, if our plow doesn't work, then we're going to get hit for 12 and they're going to draw 12 cards and we're going to lose the game. A Spell Pierce. Okay. Do I think we can beat our opponent if they hit us for 12 and draw 12 cards? It's tough. I guess we're going to grind our way through it. Our opponent's been very poor on time management, so we should see if we can play it through. So we did get punished this time. We could have just plowed this and not had this issue. We tried to get a little bit dodgy. Like, it worked last time, but then our opponent obviously had more mana this time. Alright. That is a lot of cards. At least they have to discard most of them, right? They got 15 cards. It does mean that their hand is going to be absolutely hard as nails to beat. And we have one turn to answer this. We could have avoided this problem, or at least attempted to. We don't know if our opponent has other counter magic in hand. Okay. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm going to put this plow on top anyway. I'm just going to make this creature absent. Playing around double days. I suspect they have a Force of Will. We Force of Will back. They force the ball back and we lose. Okay, sure. They connected once with the Curie. I think we definitely could have avoided that situation if we'd been more proactive with our use of removal. So, what do I like here? Consign to Memory does just counter Dreadnought. That is an important thing to consider. The Get Lost just gets rid of the Dreadnought once it's in play. I don't particularly like the Force of Negations very much, so I wouldn't mind having like a Get Lost and a Consign to Memory in. I don't like these Soulguide Lanterns very much either. If you want those to be consigned to memories, we don't want to over-index into this effect though. I could certainly see playing a second one. I think 3 is too many. Do I want something like a Meddling Mage? Do we want the Wastelands? I don't think we want the Wastelands here because we didn't see Sagas. We did see the Ancient Tombs though. Maybe they have Sagas to go with the Ancient Tombs. We'll have a couple of Wastelands for it. I'm finding this deck a lot more difficult to play than the Bant deck we played the other day. Mystic Sanctuary tapped, lose to Wasteland. Ugh, not a fan. No blue source. I guess we're mulliganing again. Okay, this one is fine. We put back the Underground Sea and the Meticulous Archive. We can get the Meticulous Archive and then set up Counterbalance. But we've had to multiply twice in this round already, which is not where we want to be. There is definitely a cost for playing a low land deck like ours, because quite a lot of the lands that we do have enter tapped. And that is a significant cost that we have to deal with. We know our opponent runs Daze. What do we want to do about it? We're going to get Stifled here. A lot of these decks aren't running Stifled, they're running Consign to Memory anyway. But if they got us, they got us. They did not get us. Okay. So we can ram the Counterbalance into Daze, or we can hold up the Counterspell. I guess it depends what's on top of our library. I don't really want to Wasteland. Our opponent's got to think about Wastelands now they've seen it though. Our opponent is 6 minutes behind us in clock right now. Okay, a Force of Will. Alright, Counterbalance, let's just jam you in. Now that we have an answer to anything spooky. So this is a situation where Predict might be better. Okay, maybe not. I'm not going to fight over this. Getting the Counterbalance in isn't the thing we need to do. That's not what we're fighting over. I'll take my Hymns of Turak and like it. But yeah, if our Counterbalance resolved, then we would have lots of instances of knowing the top card of our library, so Predict would have been better. But the Counterbalance got countered, so the accumulated knowledge remains pretty much the same as Predict for now. On Island here, we're just going to see a Dreadnought Stifle. Lavinia. What do we want to do about Lavinia? This stops us countering other stuff, but I think that's fine. We have an actual factual counterspell. Wouldn't mind taking a land here. Here's a land. Okay, good. So we have a counterspell. They might not assume that we can actually counter any spells. They might go for something big. We can afford to take 2 damage off of this guy without any trouble. Or this guy, girl, what is it? Lavinia, I think it's a lady's name. I don't know. This creature. Alright, go gadget, accumulated knowledge. You never counter the first accumulated knowledge. A Hull Breacher. Sure. Was not expecting that. I guess maybe could have inferred it from the Ancient Tomb, but this is not like a standard looking list to me. Oh look, we've drawn our other accumulated knowledge. Cool. Our deck full of removal needs to draw the removal. Alright, Ponder. We're going to take 5 now. This is a real clock. We can't Miracle of Terminus because of the Lavinia. We can't draw any cards because of the Hull Breacher. We can counter a spell. I think that is worth countering here. It's a 2-for-1 sort of. Another land. Well, we're getting close to being able to pitch cast this Force of Will. Actually, no, because this is if mana's not spent to cast it. Okay. We're getting close to hard casting this Force of Will. But we don't have a lot of time left in this. Our opponent's kind of just turned into a different deck here. I don't know how much of this is in their main and how much is sideboard plans. But they've certainly got our number with it. Brainstorm is good. We need to kill this Hull Breacher. Things become better when that happens. Can I draw one of our, like, 12 or so removal spells? No. We could ponder to look at the top cards of our deck. Our opponent gets a treasure. Is it worth it? I think we have to here. I hate it, but we have to do it. Because we don't have a lot of time before this just kills us. So we need to make sure that we're getting a removal spell in the next turn. Yes, our opponent gets a treasure, but they've already got lots of mana. I don't think the treasure is going to make any difference to them. None of these do what we need them to do, really. We could cast a small Secure the Wastes, but then the other cards we're drawing are really bad, so this is any order in shuffle. We don't know what we're drawing, we're just drawing live off the top, hopefully. We've got some good draws. Our deck is jam-packed with removal. We've seen nearly a quarter of our deck and none of our removal spells. We should have a removal spell every, like, 4 cards or something, I think it is. With 12 in the deck. And we've already seen 12 cards and no removal spells, plus the extra cards we just saw off the Ponder. Now, will our removal spell resolve? That is a different problem. Like I said, our opponent doesn't have a problem with mana. They don't have any problems, really. We just got to hope their hand is bad and that we can resolve a spell. But if they just sat there with high-cast Force of Will, there's just nothing we can do. Alright, we didn't get anywhere. What is the exact text of this? Except for the one they'd first draw in each of their draw steps. Yes, it's not like Narset. We can't just try and draw one card with the accumulated knowledge. Yeah, we just didn't draw our removal spells. That is unfortunate for us. We saw a quarter of our deck, couldn't find a removal spell, despite us having 12. Yikes. I think we threw away the first game a little bit, but we are doing pretty horribly. This is an 0-4. This is not where we want to be. Obviously, we've been splitting some games in some of them, but we haven't been able to finish it off. Let's go to the final round and see if we can avoid the reverse trophy. Okay, this is one of the better hands we've had for a while. Obviously, Force of Negation is not Force of Will, but we'll see how it goes. And Path to Exile is not Source to Plowshares. But we don't get to run 6 Force of Wills, we don't get to run 5 Source to Plowshares, so we'll take what we got. I think I am okay to ponder here. Looking for some card advantage. I don't mind having a Force of Will that covers us in other ways. And then we can Meticulous Archive away the plains because we've already got some lands. Although if we need the land because our opponent just Snap Wastelands us, then we can keep it. Oh, look at that. A Snap Wasteland. So I could play this right now. I don't really think I need to. Do I want to draw the plains at this point? There are Yorion decks, so probably Death and Taxes. I will mill away this plains, I think. Our opponent's unlikely to have runner Wastelands in their 80-card deck. Shadowy Backstreet, sure. A Brainstorm, big fan of this. I don't believe that these Force of Negations are particularly useful Magic the Gathering cards right now. I'll put one of them away and one land away. And then play this with the intention of shuffling. There is a Wasteland, okay. A Stoneforge Mystic. We have a clean answer to this in Path to Exile. Is that an answer I actually want to use on it? I think it's fine. We can see what they fetch up. Pre-war formal wear. So we can just path this if we want to. Not a massive fan of ramping my opponent here. But this might mean they have the Cauldron in hand already. So if we counter it, we have to worry about having pre-war formal wear. Okay, and accumulated knowledge. This is what we want to be doing with our time. Just get all that knowledge, accumulate it right up. A Caracas, okay. They're getting close to Yorion mana already because we ramped them. This feels like an Orcish Bowmasters, which is why we saved the Force of Will here. I will Force of Will this if they have a Bowmasters. Here it comes. We get rid of this Force of Negation, which is unlikely to be that useful here. A Force of Will. It's something, isn't it? I will Island Cycle here. I will get a Tundra. We will only get the Underground Sea when we're about to cast our big Prismatic Ending for 3. We don't have access to a Force of Will right now. We are kind of shields down. We've got 2 removal spells against the creature deck though. 3 mana. Recruiter of the Guard. Sure, so they get to recruit something. If we get a Meticulous Archive right now, our opponent can Wasteland us. Sorry, not Mystic Sanctuary. Our opponent can Wasteland us off of it so it doesn't trigger. They're just getting an Orcish Bowmasters. That's not a big deal because we have a removal spell in hand that cleans it up. Lórien Revealed. Do I want to Lórien Revealed to get a Mystic Sanctuary? I don't think so. I think we're just going to pass having up the Force of Will. I'm just going to use the Plow on the Bowmasters though when they flash it in end of turn. We can then put the Plow on top of our library as well. Okay, they're just getting Shadow Backstreet, so we don't get to do that. Put one card on top. That's not really where we want our opponent to be putting their cards right now. We're going to take a little chip shot from this recruiter. That's fine. Yes, we just continue. Another Lórien Revealed. Let's Iron Cycle here. Let's go Mystic Sanctuary. Let's play a Mystic Sanctuary and see if our opponent wants to use their Wasteland or not. Doesn't seem like they do. I'll take a Ponder. There is the Bowmasters. I don't believe we're fighting over that. They got another one. A Failure. I dislike the Failure a great deal. I think we have to counterspell this one because we don't get to deal with it using a removal spell because they're Caracas. You just get to pre-war form wear it back and then we have to cancel judgment it. Yeah, that was awkward. Let's plow away this Orcish Bowmasters. And then we might put a Lórien Revealed on top. We'll see what our opponent does with their mana. And they're going to leave their Caracas open. Yeah, I don't think we should have counterspelled that. I think that was a bit loose. Okay, they're just putting Yorion to hand. That is interesting. Let's try and gas up with this Lórien Revealed. They're going to try and Wasteland us off of it. They are indeed. Unfortunate, but our opponent saw the line there. So we can't do this right now. We can cancel judgment this, so we don't have to worry about them getting it back with the, like, flickering it with the Yorion. I think we need to answer the Yorion first. It's all gone a bit pear-shaped from us here. We can Lórien Revealed and get back a Lórien Revealed, but I don't think that's really what we have time to do right now. I guess we could just Lórien Revealed, get a Meticulous, sorry, not Meticulous Archive, Mystic Sanctuary, get back a Plow, just have removal. Yeah, that counterspell on that Failure was really annoying for us. We could have held it to stop the Yorion, but I don't really want the Failure blinking this Recruiter of the Guard either, so we kind of had problems whatever we did. I don't think we beat them tutoring a card from their deck every turn. We couldn't remove it because of the Caracas. Pre-war Formalware, this gets back the Failure, or the Bowmasters. Because we countered Bowmasters earlier. Okay, they're getting back the Failure, which can then tutor for more Bowmasters. Cool. Not great. So I think we go white, white, 1 here. I think we have to kill the Recruiter. So they can bounce the Failure here, because we choose this on resolution. So if they don't bounce the Failure here, then we can choose it. So it puts our opponent in a horrible spot. Okay, we can just get rid of this Failure now. And then if our opponent blinks anything, we can plow the Recruiter and then try and worry about the Yorion afterwards. No land? Okay. We don't need to plow this Recruiter yet. Alright, maybe we do have to plow the Recruiter. Pre-war Formalware will get back the Orcish Bowmasters. The Recruiter of the Guard will get another Orcish Bowmasters because they're going to blink this pre-war Formalware. So I think we have to plow the Bowmasters because then that gives us the most looks at something that wins the game for us. Yikes. Our opponent is doing some good work over there. If we plow the Bowmasters, we are dead on board. 4, 5, 6, 7. If we plow this, we can't cantrip into a better answer. 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. Oh, I hate this. Okay, let's just hope there's a Terminus on top of our library, I guess. Right, we're going to be dead soon anyway, so... Accumulated Knowledge doesn't really work here, so then you're in Shuffle. And then we're just dead now. Okay. Pretty sad. We should be good into decks like this. The problem is we just don't have any sort of board presence with our deck, and it's really costing us. Which is something I noticed that when I played the other builds. So we'll get rid of these Force of Negations. We'll get in this removal spell. And then what? Consign to Memory has a lot of text in this matchup, actually. Don't mind having access to those. We don't really need the Soulguide Lanterns. There's not many things that the Soulguide Lantern are actually keeping in check, whereas the Consign to Memory does a lot of work here. We can consign a Yorion trigger so nothing comes back, and all of a sudden we get a 1 mana Wrath. Alright, this hand looks fine. Do I think our opponent is playing Aether Vial? If the answer is yes, we play this Tundra. If they just snap off a Wasteland, that's going to suck for us. Not a Wasteland. Good news. An Aether Vial. I think this is a good use of a Consign to Memory. Let's ponder. Force of Will, not really about that right now. Lórien Revealed is fine. I don't really want these cards. I think this is in any order in shuffle. Alright, another ponder. I'll take that. Ideally, what I want is card advantage. Counterspells and plows are all good though. So we put this on the bottom, then the plow, because we already have one of those, and then the counterspell. Alright, I like our setup so far. This should surely be a deck where we can just kill all their guys and be fine. But the power level of threats is so strong these days that if we're in a draw-go stage and our opponent just does the thing, then it's really annoying. Are they hitting us or are they not hitting us? They are hitting us. Oh, we do have more islands in our deck, don't we? I was going to say we have the planes in our hand. Right, so that shuffles the card off the top that we were looking forward to having access to, though. Right, we have basic lands. I think we can afford to take 2 here. Actually, this flies. I'm going to plow this because it flies. So we don't have a good option to just secure the waste and block it later on. We still have a path to exile in case of Orcish Bowmasters, but we also have Counterspell. A Thoughtseize. Do I want our opponent to hit us with a Thoughtseize? No, I don't. Okay, Stoneforge Mystic. What are you going to fetch? A Cauldron. Okay. So we can make this get lost, or we can path to exile it. I think it's better if it gets lost. And then we can save the path to exile as a single cost removal spell when we're trying to draw into a potential Bowmasters. Now these maps aren't free. Our opponent can have creatures that do stuff. Okay. A Skyclave. Just a 3-mana 2/2. They're going to crack a map. They are. So this goes into their hand, I think. Okay. We can secure the waste and kill this if we want to. But we don't need to. A Thoughtseize. Do I want to path this guy in response? I don't think so. I think we just let this happen. It took our path. That is not a surprise to me. They're going to crack the map. This is probably going to put a counter on it this time so we can't block it with our secure the waste tokens. A classic. Shadowy Backstreet. I suspect they leave this Recruiter on top because it's a very good card. There it is. I don't think we are securing the waste here. A Flooded Strand. So now we can secure the waste. We can also cast a Thwart, which can answer the Recruiter quite cleanly. They will know about the Thwart. Our next fetch land allows us to get back a spell. Disruptive Flute. I will get this Tundra. And they can name Thwart here, or they can name Secure the Waste because we have 2 of them. I would rather they name Secure the Waste, I think, right now. But maybe that changes in a couple of turns' time. We can return 3 islands to cast a Thwart still. But I don't think sending ourselves back into the Stone Age is a good play. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand. They're Recruit of the Guard and Cauldron Complete. How much do I want to not have to deal with this Recruit of the Guard? Quite a lot, I think. I hate this. Okay, so let's... Actually, there's no point tapping that other island, is there? Let's do this. That feels horrible. But this guy isn't going to do much for us. We can't just let them go and get a Bowmaster there. They've left the mana open. It's clearly what they were going to get here. I don't believe this Lórien Revealed is doing anything for us for a while. Let's just float our basics in play. Take a little bit of damage. And then we can secure the wastes. And block this at some point. Aether Vial. I think the time for Aether Vial being good is past. Like, it's still fine, but it's not really where our opponent wants to be. Okay, they have the Lórien in hand. A Brainstorm. I would very much like to cast a Brainstorm. Especially when our opponent doesn't have the mana to do anything scary with it. I don't believe we need this Underground Sea. I don't believe we need this Mystic Sanctuary either. Then we cycle this as our shuffle effect. Go and get a Mystic Sanctuary for later. And then we deploy the Tundra here. So we can try and double removal spell, potentially. Okay. We're going to get clocked for 3. This is starting to mount up. We're going to see this Yuri on here. This Plains is jamming us up from getting the card we want back right now. So our opponent's going to put lethal damage on board. We will need to secure the wastes to block this. And then find an answer. But we can find an answer to the Yuri on the following turn. They're going to disrupt a flute back. Are they going to name secure the waste this time? Because that's a pretty good play. Secure the wastes. Okay, the wastes are not feeling very secure right now. Prismatic Ending. That doesn't help us here. So we're probably casting Accumulated Knowledge. I think that means we're casting in our opponent's turn just in case we hit into the... So if we cast it... If we hit into a cantrip, if we hit into a ponder, which we've already cast 2 of, then sure, that sucks for us. But we have more Brainstorms in our deck and the Terminus. I think I'm just going to try and high roll for the Terminus here. It's not the highest of high rolls, but we are just getting cooked left, right, and centre today. These to attack. We cast this AK. They play a Bowmasters. We have a sad time. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, we cannot win with this deck. Alright, that is the reverse trophy. We split a couple of rounds, but this was very poor. I think the first round was the best looking round. Alright. What is the problem with this deck? There are several problems with this deck I've found. I actually think we don't have enough lands. I know, like, we had to mulligan to 5 a fair few times to find land. Having, like, Lórien Revealed taking up your land slot has some serious drawbacks that we ran into today. I think the banned version we played the other day had more lands, so we just didn't have to worry about trying to find lands to play the game on. We could just sort of sit back. And when we're only running, like, what, 17 lands, and 4 of them enter tapped, that can also really jam us up in the early turns of the game, which happened multiple times, which was less likely to happen when we played the banned build. Another big problem that I found with this deck, that I found every time I played this blue-white build, or builds of blue-white, is we never have any board presence. We have to be, like, really stringent about how we're controlling the board. And there's only so much we can use our life total as a resource. Like that last game, we're using our life total as a resource, but then it just kind of eventually floundered and we didn't get to go where we needed to go. So having permanents that interact with our opponent, but also give us board presence. So whether that's a Planeswalker, which is usually the best one, or creatures, like we were playing the Endurance and the Uro. The Uro also helping us get back the life we've paid to, like, you know, leave our opponent's creatures around for a couple of turns while we're setting ourselves up. So I did just think that the Bant build looked a lot stronger than what we had today. Now, maybe we have too many fun-offs in here. So, like, Unexpectedly Absent, and it's hard to call Path to Exile a fun-off. We did draw it a lot more than we drew Swords to Plowshares, I think, which is unfortunate for us. But I think we can make these cleaner removal spells and just go down the curve a little bit. But I still don't think that makes a huge difference to the main problems that we're running into. I understand wanting to have a lower land count so that we're less susceptible to getting wastelanded and stuff, but I do think that the setup we had in the Bant deck just felt better. We had a few proactive plays. We had creatures that we could chuck into play, like the Endurance, that just halted our opponent's aggression, gave us the extra turns of the game we needed to set ourselves up, and also we had a proper card advantage engine in the Euro in the Bant deck, whereas when we're trying to just use card draw spells, this doesn't feel like what you should be doing in Legacy in 2025. The way to draw cards in Legacy right now, or the way to have card advantage, is to have permanents that sit and play and accrue card advantage over time. You know, they do something, they give you a card advantage, right? They replace themselves immediately, and then every turn they're around, they have an impact on the game. You know, Narset is a good example. Sure, it maybe only replaces itself once, but does your opponent attack it? Your opponent can't draw into it, so it's having an impact. If your opponent attacks into it, it's at least gaining you life. If they don't attack into it, then it's 2 cards for 3 mana, and you're looking in the top 8. So you'll basically just dig through timing. So that feels like a lot more solid. Also, in the Bant build, we had a copy of Stock Up, which felt pretty good as well. That I would have liked to have had something along those lines here, but it just felt like whenever we do the Thwart stuff, we don't have as many lands. So sometimes we'll miss the odd land drop. And if we have to thwart, like, in the first, 5 turns of the game, let's say, or like 6 turns of the game or whatever, then we set ourselves really far back, and then that can sometimes be a place that we don't recover from. And that definitely felt like what was happening here. Whereas when we played the Bant version, Uro allows us to play more land drops, so we get to the Thwart Mystic Sanctuary side of the deck a lot quicker. And it also means that we can recover from it quicker because we can start putting more lands in. And that just felt a little bit better to me. I think some of our like tech choices here just didn't work out today. So Soul Guide Lantern and Force of Negation, we didn't really play many decks where these were great. Like the Force of Negations were fine against the Planeswalker control deck, but their Planeswalkers, as you saw, just completely owned the game. Like once the Tamiyo starts doing its thing, it becomes a little bit awkward for us. It's a thing we have to answer relatively quickly and we can't beat it down because we don't have any threats really. And then the Jace and Teferi, like the Teferi is something where it shuts off a bunch of our deck if they get it to land it, and it can be really problematic for us. But then also they have the Jace, which is just a card advantage engine. Every turn it's a creative advantage. Every turn we don't answer it is a turn we fall further behind, and we don't have anything like that to impact our opponent. Whereas with the Bant build, which I think is better, you get access to Uro, and Uro says, okay, you get every turn that this in play, we're accruing a huge amount of advantage, and it's really good. So another thing that I think is in the favor of the Bant build over this one is our mana base is relatively susceptible to things like back to basics and, you know, hate for our lands and, you know, moons and that sort of thing. So if we're already being susceptible by playing like lots and lots of Tundras and trying to get, you know, the Mystic Sanctuary engine up and running, we may as well just dip into another colour fully and get all the good things that offers us, which is what Bant does for us nicely. I definitely think you can improve upon this, and I just don't think this is how I want to play blue-white control. I think the next build I'm going to try is going to have more permanents that sit on the board and do stuff, right? I think that is the best way to do this. We're going to try and keep it in the counterbalance shell, which is what we've been trying to innovate with this entire time. But I think, for me, the problems here are quite difficult to overcome. We need to have something that can sit and play. Also, the Secure the Wastes, I don't think this is a good win condition. It's sometimes a removal spell, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. You know, it's a reasonable win condition at times. But there is a card called Tamiyo in the format. And if that pluses, this can't pressure Planeswalkers at all. So I don't think that's the way forward. So I think we need something else to really work here. There is a blue-white sort of control-y deck. It's like a prowessy deck, but it has a bunch of control elements in it. I think that is quite an interesting way that we could look as well. Maybe I'll try and play that. It runs Staff of the Storyteller as its thing that sits in play, draws us cards every turn. Big fan of that. I do like having cards that do that. Staff of the Storyteller is also one of my favourite cards from recent years. Just a really sweet Magic the Gathering card. And it runs the 1 mana, I think it's a Saga that makes a Prowess guy. It makes a 1/1 Prowess, then you can do some other stuff with it later on if you want to. But it's just a 1 mana 1/1 with Prowess. It's a blue card, so it pitches to Force of Will, and then it has other text later on in the game. So I think we'll probably try the Staff of Storyteller build next time. The Prowessy deck. And then see what we can learn from that and maybe mash these two decks together and try and work out what we're doing. But I think you need to have something proactive. You need to have something that can sit and play. Otherwise, you're just going to keep taking chip shots from like the random stuff that enters play over the course of the game. And it just felt like we were really, really weak to that sort of stuff. Yes, we got a little bit unfortunate. We mulliganed quite a lot. But I think that is a problem with a deck where we just need some more lands. And I also think that having more lands that are fetch lands as well means that our counterbalance is better, because then we can fetch. We're more likely to be able to fetch for Sanctuary and Meticulous Archive in response to the counterbalance trigger, which is something we want to do. Our tech choices didn't work out today, but that's just because we didn't happen to run into those decks. And, you know, that happens sometimes. But I think we did a really good job of showcasing why control that looks like this is struggling and you need to be a bit more proactive. I'm sad we didn't get to Meddling Mage, something like a Sowing Micro Spawn. I would have liked to have said no to that one, but was not to be today. Get Lost didn't feel very good. Our opponent actually used map tokens quite effectively against us, and I guess I know what Explore does a little bit better now, which I wish was actually written on the card. But there we go. So, yeah, it's a big thumbs down for me, as you can probably expect, given the fact that it was a reverse trophy. We've had a few of those on the channel. I think we've had one other one on the channel playing a blue-white list. I just think we need to be doing something a bit more impactful. We need some like Wandering Emperors and stuff, and more mana so that we can get up the curve. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you've been enjoying this continuing series of messing around with control in the format where control is not great right now. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel and doesn't cost you anything. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.